Hi. Hey all, Emergency Player here. I made a little short film. It's called Replaced. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly suggest you do. I have a little iCard right here in the top right corner. But this video is going to be a little behind the scenes of how I made the short film. Around the end of 2025, I wanted to redo the Emergency Player model, so I decided to make a new model. I based it off of a lot of things from my history doing this channel, and as I was finishing up the model, I thought in my head, how funny would it be to make a little short film announcing this new model? And I created Replaced. Replaced features the old model getting replaced or fired by a live action version of me. And then the old model gets in a fight with a new model and it kind of goes from there. I'm very proud of this short film. It's definitely not perfect. There's a few issues that I will touch as we go over this video, but I think it's a really good attempt, especially after the original Pokemon short film that I made, which wasn't as great, but I really think this is representative of everything that I have learned doing Blender over this past year, and I'm very excited to go over this process with all of you. This video will feature the script writing process and how I conceptualized this video, and then I'll go into the fight sequence, which is a major part of the Replaced short film. And then we're going to do a bit more behind the scenes where I show off some of the layout versions and also some very suspicious behind the scenes stuff. I'm going to be talking about the live action segment and a little karaoke segment that got cut due to copyright. With all that said and done, let's get started. Let's start off with the writing process. How sick was I in the head while I was writing this script? To be honest, it was pretty bland at first. It started off as a comedy sketch and just purely a comedy sketch. There wasn't really like a lot of things going on. I think how I started off was that I assigned all three of the characters personalities. Old Polly Lawrence, or like Low Polly Lawrence, the original, whatever I'm going to call the original Emergency Player model. The Low Polly Lawrence was always going to be very timid, like very exciting, very quick to anger, just because it was a very drastic situation of like, oh wow, you just got fired out of the blue. I always really liked live action Larry just being corporate and cold in corporate. I have this weird fascination of just like corporate speak, and it's really funny to me, but maybe that's just because I work a 9 to 5 in a corporate setting as well and I hear it all the time. And the new Emergency Player is just going to be like stoic, Chad like. To be honest, he doesn't really have much of a personality, but that's sort of to hint at something else sort of controlling him, and he's more of a puppet rather than an actual character. With those personalities set, I just wrote out the scenarios as it would happen and then sort of think about how would this character respond and then how would this character react to the information that was being provided in the scene and the context. I think this also really helps that I am literally all three of the characters, so it was easy to get into their heads because it was my head, and all I had to do for corporate Larry was pretend like I was in the office and a soulless corporate executive. Should I include this in the video? Like, will I get in trouble? With the characters defined and the writing process going smoothly, we got to my first roadblock, which was the crash out. This is the scene where live action Larry starts explaining to old Larry why all the benefits of this new model is so good, and old Polly oh my god, it's hard to say. Old Polly Larry is slowly having a crash out, and it's shown by this like sort of dolly effect of the camera going to the face. And then afterwards, I did not know what to do actually, because I wasn't going to have this fight sequence at first. Initially, I was just going to have live action Lawrence fire old Low Polly Lawrence and maybe replace him and give him a new job. But it doesn't really make sense, nor does that feel really satisfying, and it doesn't really play into the comedic theme unless I make it like a dispatch situation, but even that's not really satisfying. So I was just like, okay, well, what if I make it so during this crash out, Low Polly Larry realizes it's like, oh, I should just slap him because I'm angry, and then what he does, what I initially wrote was that he slaps him, and then they do like a petty cat fight. Like those little silly animations or like Cartoon Networks whenever characters are being petty. And then I continued writing the fight and it just got really dramatic really quickly. And then in my head, I was like, what if I turn this into more of a thriller? And that is how we get to our next segment, the fight sequence. As you guys know, it all started with that slap. Low Poly Larry crashes out, slaps a new emergency player, and then they brawl. I animated this by doing the key poses first, and I always did the attacking person and animated their actions first. And then from there, I would animate the reacting character. And then I'd add in between frames in case stuff weren't really lining up well. But overall, I was pretty surprised at how far the key poses got me alone in this thing. The first scene is the slap, and then it goes into the punch. And then that kind of goes into a slow-mo. Then I wanted Lawrence to fall, and then he would do a low sweep and a knockdown emergency player. And then from there, Lawrence will roll onto emergency player and just start like pummeling his face. And I did this knowing that in the end, emergency player would eventually kill Lawrence, but I wanted to give Lawrence at least some sort of aggression and like fighting chance. And it also gave more of a reason for emergency player, the new emergency player, to just like completely choke him out in the end. And then after the initial like beat down from Lawrence, new emergency player gets his shit together and then starts pummeling Low Poly Lawrence. And this is where I started using actual fights for reference. One of the more subtle ones that I used was the Jake Paul against that other guy who completely knocked him out. I just love the Pepe smile of the other guy who's about to knock out Jake Paul's face. And I thought it would be really funny if that's how his first few punches are. And then when I was animating this was around the time that the JJK aura farming fight was happening. And I don't watch a lot of JJK. I don't watch any JJK, but I thought this was really cool and I thought it'd be really funny to implement. So immediately after the Jake Paul gets pummeled reference, I used the JJK aura farming reference and put that into the video. And then it ends with a little Spartan from 300, like the kick from that movie. And then emergency player comes in and starts choking out Low Poly Lawrence. The fight sequence ultimately ends with Low Poly Lawrence just laying there dead, and with the help of Sarah and some of her amazing music, this got a lot more tension and a lot more gravitas than it would have been if there was no music. My one regret is constantly using the same punch sound for all of the punches, and I wish I did change it up a bit, but I was a bit lazy. But overall, I was really happy with this fight sequence. I added in some impact frames and some camera shake, and it worked out really well. Something that I do with all of my videos, except for some reason the Pokemon video, is called the layout version. This is where I create a version of the video where I create all the scenes and then I add in the audio and then I animate the camera, but nothing else. So the characters are just all T-posing and saying their lines, and the camera is just swapping to sort of get the right angle to see how the characters would react and stuff like that. This is very helpful so I could edit it all together and then see if the audio, if the dialogue and the pacing of the video is good. If not, then I know where to fix it and see what's going on, and it allows me to share it with some friends and to get their input on how to adjust things. Here's a little compare and contrast of the layout version to the animated version. And then afterwards, I go in and animate everything. You may have seen some of these on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, or Instagram Reels if you follow me on those. But yeah, it leads to some very funny, just the T-posing sections. And then I used a very chud photo of me, as a temporary asset for the T-pose version. And it is not good. Imagine showing that on a first date. That's crazy. After the layout version, I go in and I start animating, and there's some really funny, like, behind the scenes stuff, like, while I'm animating, especially during the fight sequence. He's, like, crawling all over the Low Poly Lawrence, or, like, they're all crawling all over each other, and it just looks really erotic, and, like, I might as well be like, if there's ever a heated rivalry animated show, I might as well be the primary animator. Like, look at this. Look at these scenes. Like, this is crazy. Also, the hair physics is like an absolute shit show, which is really funny. And now the live action segments. I have this green screen that I've been using since like 2018, 2019, and there's some unlisted videos I'm sure you could dig up somewhere on this channel where I use the green screen a lot. And for live action layer, I decided why not to use the green screen again. There was a few things with this. Originally, it was just gonna be like videos of me saying these lines and then shooting it like this. But then as I was doing the layout version, I was thinking like, damn, I don't want to have to time my voice so this works out with the layout version. So I opted to just take little screenshots of a video. Since I didn't have a person to help me take pictures and waiting 10 seconds for the camera to go and then like seeing the photo not work, it was going to be too inefficient. I just took like 3 to 4 minute long video of me doing different poses. And then I went into the video editor, took exact frames from that, and then edited it out in Photoshop. So on my camera, there's just like B-roll footage of me just doing a bunch of random poses. And it's pretty funny. There's a lot of poses that didn't get used. Like, I'm going to put some up here. And the only reasons why these didn't get used is because I got too lazy to Photoshop everything, and it was very time consuming. But I really enjoyed doing this, and I kind of hope to implement more live action elements into my animated videos again in the future. One last small tidbit I wanted to go over while talking about this behind the scenes is this K-drama section. Originally, it was supposed to be me doing a Bruno Mars song. I believe it was Smoking Out the Window, and karaokeing it. And I've done this before. The Cowboy Zelda video featured me falling down the stairs, and it's a very shitty cover of me singing a song. But for some reason, I did test it with YouTube before I uploaded this video in full, and they did copyright it. Now, as to why they copyrighted it, I have no idea. I have a feeling it was because of the melody that was playing in the background, but it was also 2 a.m. when I was singing this, and let me put it up a little bit, and it is rough. It is 2 a.m., like 1 or 2 a.m., and I am just belting it out. Luckily, my room is far from the other roommates on this house, and I don't have to worry about noise complaints from them. And yeah, this is just really funny. I just thought I would share this, and hopefully I could do some more YouTube covers in the future. YouTube, fix your copyright system, please. Yeah, that's behind the scenes of this animation and this animated short film. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. If there's anything else you want me to cover, or you have any questions or any improvements to the short film, I'd love for you to leave a comment down below. Like and subscribe for more. I'm probably going to do more like storytime content, but I do the occasional short film every now and then, and I love posting behind the scenes stuff, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, like and subscribe for more. Emergency Player out.